And welcome. Thank you on behalf of our family and our friends. We'd like to welcome you and thank you for joining us today for a memorial for our beloved friend, beloved son and brother, Maximilian Samuel Nchama. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Max's little brother to DC. Just some general housekeeping up front. Just some people we like to thank for helping make this day possible. Andrew Kaiser from the Emmett Ray and the Avery Brew Pub graciously contributed individual ounces of Max's favorite beverage, 16-year Lagavulin. So, Andrew, thank you so much for that. Also, we'd like to thank Nelson Tam and Adam Bialo for helping us with this live stream and hooking us up in lightning quick speed, guys. Thank you so much for all your contributions and getting us through this. And last but not least, I just like to say we also have, instead of gifts for the family, we have a music counts set up where you can donate there. It's a program that funds music programs across Canada. Max was a very talented pianist, loved music, and was quite the patriot. So this is something that we thought best represented his interests. So normally during a memorial, there's maybe one or two speakers tops, but to reflect the unique relationships that Max shared with us all, today we're going to hear from several different speakers. People representing friends, family, loved ones from both Cornwall, Toronto. Again, unique guys, so this is going to be a unique ceremony. So their names will be featured at the bottom of the screen, so you'll know who everyone is. So without further ado, we'll kick things off with Derek.
First met Max years ago, 27 years ago, when I transferred to St. Joseph's Secondary School in Cornwall to begin grade 11. Being tall and awkward, I wanted to avoid any attention or expectation of trying out for sports, so I ended up joining choir. In the inaugural lunchtime practice session, I was assigned to the baritone section and found a spot at the back of the room. Next to me was a guy wearing leather loafers, dress pants, and a matching blazer with an Upper Canada College crest. He may have even had a Mont Blanc pen in his breast pocket. This was somewhat unusual considering that this was a Catholic school that did not require a uniform, and it was the grunge era after all. Nonetheless, with supreme confidence and without reserve, he introduced himself as Maximilian, and with that, the adventure began. The adventures had with Max in high school could fill a volume of books. There was the trip to New York City with the choir, the Who's Tommy on Broadway, singing on the stage in Radio City Music Hall, attending the Quebec referendum rally, seeing the Ramones at Lollapalooza, off-roading in the Nchama camper van, shooting shotguns in the countryside, or the house party that he convinced me to host. But the most memorable part of high school for me were the many times spent with Max at the wheel of his father's Volkswagen Grotto, cruising aimlessly with the sunroof open and an obscure tune at full volume. We would have long discussions on any number of topics, and Max would often regale me with random facts or grandiose stories. One such story involved disassembling the UCC headmaster's car and putting it back together in his office. On this occasion, I felt I should challenge him on the validity of his outrageous story, but this only encouraged him. He quickly doubled down and began going into great detail about the number of bolts connecting the body to the frame, the specific weight of the engine block, and the limited number of tools needed to do the job. He was relentless in his defense and refused to yield. Needless to say, I did not win the debate, and I'm still not sure if the story has any validity. After high school, we both ended up at Queen's University in Kingston. We were in different years and different circles, but would often reconnect. Much of the time, we would watch movies. In keeping with his artistic tendencies, Max knew how to choose them. The list included Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, The Big Lebowski, Magnolia, Hard Eight, Being John Malkovich, Boogie Nights, and Pi, cinema that defined a generation. When I watch these now, it brings me back to those times spent together. A pivotal moment in our friendship was when I somehow convinced Max to join me in going out west to work in Calgary for the summer break. I certainly oversold the idea, so when we arrived on our first day at work and the nature of the job became clear, Max was not amused. The job called for long hours spent building tents the size of basketball courts and furnishing them with flooring, staging, heaters, lights, tables, and countless chairs. Still, to his credit, he did not turn around and go home. Instead, he embraced the challenge. We were assigned to the same crew, and I was given the boss's treasured pickup truck. Max took the role as navigator and disc jockey as we traveled throughout the foothills and ventured into the Rocky Mountains to do jobs, including setting up a banquet at Ron Joyce's mansion. By the end of that summer, we were raising marquees and driving 3-foot stakes through asphalt with ease. Max certainly took pride in his ability to swing a sledgehammer with rhythm. This might explain to some of you why he knows too much about marquee tents. As we moved on with the responsibilities of adulthood, months or years might pass between the times that we spoke or met. However, when we did, it was as though no time had passed at all. In more recent years, we would meet in the outskirts of Toronto and were joined by our mutual friends from Cornwall, Todd Beeler, Patrick McDonald, Patrick Hymas, or Shawn McHugh. We would stoke up a large bonfire and would listen to music, and Max would sometimes bring out a keyboard and start a sing-along. Otherwise, we would reminisce about our youth or discuss current events. For example, I would lament about the need to preserve forests in southeastern Ontario, and Max would instinctively take the counter argument, defending the rights of farmers to utilize our land without government interference. He took pleasure in my frustration and, as always, yielded nothing. To drive home his argument, he followed up by texting me a picture of a clear-cut forest with naked women hugging the last remaining trees. He got me again. I miss my friend. He was truly unique, dependably fun, fantastically smart, charismatic, eloquent, refined, loyal, thoughtful, and a joy to behold. I was lucky enough to know him well and to share in the good and bad times with him, and he'll stay with me forever. And now pass it on to Shawn Kirkey, another close friend of Max.
Max had by Max by far had the most beautiful and gentle soul that I know. He was exactly the person that I knew he was, and there wasn't much more to him, and then there was so much more. In the endless surprises, there was familiarity, and he saw every part of the real me, and I saw parts of him that sometimes he didn't see himself. He constantly worked on himself, and he grew and he evolved, and he loved wholeheartedly. To me, Max is endless laughter and shed tears. He was my rock, my confidant, and the only person I was truly vulnerable in front of. My faith in him is unshakable. And I couldn't get mad at him or stay mad at him because to me he was just too cute and too lovable. He was kind, respectful, loving, empathetic, and affectionate. He was intellectually and creatively gifted. And he had that rare combination of a very high IQ as well as a very high EQ. He was a man of great character, and he had a very strong moral compass. And to me, what Max is, and to all of us, he will always remain because the bond is never lost. I'd like to pass it on now to Shawn.
Okay. Where to start with Max? God. We started. Oh, I met him in drama class. We go on field trips like A&W, and I'd be out smoking in the back, and Max came up to me and started talking, and we hit it off right away. Music and just intellectual conversation. Yeah. Uh, we shared the same, views on life and school at the time. We went to all kinds of great parties and, got into trouble and everything else. You know, we were always playing pranks on other friends and having a good time. Uh, then we moved to Kingston, and yeah, me, Derek, Pat McDonald, Max, other people too. We like going to the bars and having a heck of a time. Driving around in the Corrado, on the back roads of Kingston. We had all kinds of fun there. It was like a little rally car, always blaring tunes. Um, remember one time we were blaring Wu-Tang at, 120 decibels in front of some sort of department store while other people were looking at us like we were crazy. Um, yeah. We went to New York City in 2003. We had this beautiful luxury suite at Parker Fifth Avenue. We got to see Bo Diddley play at BB King's. We went to CBGB's. We saw a few bands. Um, went to Coyote Ugly. We got to see Flavor Flav in the elevator. It was pretty exciting. I don't know. Went to the 9/11 site. We went to Chicago. Went to all kinds of different places. Las Vegas. It's it's hard to put into words how much Max means to me. Um, you know, we've always kept in contact over the years. We've always been supportive for each other. We've had this deep connection with music and philosophy and life, and it'll always be with me. I'm just gonna bring up a quick thing here. Sorry, I'm not very good at these. This is part of an email I gave to Leah. Our trips were truly legendary. We would have made Hunter S. Thompson blush on occasion. He's the only friend that really got me, and the only one who really kept in contact over the years. We would either cry laughing, have deep intellectual conversation about something or the other, or sing and play and listen to music together. We were never bored with each other, and our deep friendship reflects upon that. Someone like that is one in a million, and I'm glad I spent 80% of my last trip to Cornwall with him. I'll forever miss him. I've never had the same connection with another human being. He's truly my brother. I could write a book about our adventures. I can only imagine what the family are going through right now. He meant the world to me and so many others. I'd like to give my sympathies to the family members. I always imagined us moving back and, going on trips and reminiscing about the glory days like we always did. He was the glue that kept a lot of old friends together over the years. His contributions to those he touched is immeasurable. With all the love in my heart, I'll miss you, Max. Thanks. Pat.
Max and I only knew each other for just over a decade, but with our closeness, it really felt like we were lifelong friends. We were introduced by our friend and colleague, Andrew Cooper, who, like Max, was also born in Newfoundland and whose father was also a pediatrician. She worked with him at the PR agency Strategic Objectives and connected us for a video project for the White Cashmere Collection, an initiative that featured fashion designers creating dazzling couture from bathroom tissue in support of breast cancer. So yes, you heard that right. It's artists making fancy dresses out of toilet paper. Might be a little crazy, maybe a little cool, but the project involved us working throughout the day together, shooting a video. He was the client, and then we would have to go into the edit suite and turn the video around before midnight. And by the end of the day, we really discovered that we had a very similar work-life sensibility. Details aren't exactly PG, so I will save them and not get into them here. Max was many things to me. Confident collaborator, advisor, friend. We could talk about anything, relationships, music, movies, life, moving from subjects like peacocking and pocket squares to brutalist architecture. He was really like a brother to me. Sometimes he was the little brother and sometimes it was me, but there wasn't anything that we couldn't talk about. He was also one of my favorite straight dates for any party. And if I was lucky, maybe someone would ask me if he was my boyfriend. I mean, what a compliment for anyone to think I can get a guy like that. I think probably one of my greatest pleasures, aside from having Max as a friend and getting to hang out with him in any situation, was being able to introduce him to people. And I was really always really proud to have him as a friend. As you know, Max had many unique traits and was always entertaining. Always had a story in the pocket ready to go. Him and I also had many random adventures. I remember one time where we were at the Food and Wine Show down at the Metro Convention Center in Toronto, and we had sort of split up a little bit, and then I get a text from him saying, "We got to get out of here now." And I guess there was something involving an ice sculpture that had crumbled in their vicinity. I don't know how it happened, but we had to leave. So we darted across the street to the CBC atrium, and we were with some friends of mine that I was working with at the time. And there was a baby grand piano there, and Max just jumped on and started playing, and there was probably about 5 or 6 of us, and we just started singing aloud in the atrium of the CBC, which is this tall open space, and I can see the security guards up top kind of circling, and I thought we were going to get kicked out, and then I noticed they just perched on the ledge and enjoyed what we were doing. That was just one of the examples, of some of the things that we would get into. There is so much that I could say about Max, but at the same time, I have been finding myself really at a loss of words in this last month or so. But I will end on this. I thought one of the coolest gifts I ever got from Max was just a small business card that had 2 words on it, and it said, "Stop talking." And I think it was a little helper that he would hand out between his friends. And I can't really remember if he was giving it to me because he was sharing the story with me and its functionality, or if I was talking too much, which sometimes I would tend to do. So I will stop talking for now, but I don't think I'll ever stop talking about you, Max. I'm gonna really miss you, and I'm glad that while you were here, I never hesitated to tell you how much I loved you. And I think we're going to Leah.
So before I go to my written remarks that I wanted to say, I just had to tell a funny story. We're getting a bit sad, so I had to tell a funny story. That's my rule. You can be sad, but you have to tell a funny story about Max. So let me tell you about Max snowboarding. My husband, Jared, is an avid snowboarder. DC picked it up pretty good, and so did I. And so we One Christmas, DC and Max came to Utah, where my in-laws are, and so I bought Max a learn how to snowboard package at Sundance. So DC, Jared, Max, and I, we went with Jared's brothers, Mark and Matthew, and we were all going to snowboard and ski. And so all of us except Max knew what we were doing. So we get up there on the hill, left Max with his instructor, and we go up the chairlift, and I see him kind of, fumbling around on the bunny hill with his instructor. We did a run, looked down, checked on him again. He was doing okay. I think maybe the third or fourth time we looked down, and he's not there. And I said, did anybody see helicopter come in? Did anybody see a snowmobile come in? Is he okay? Like, where is he? Jared's like, oh, no, he's fine. And go up again. He's not there. I said, okay, guys, we have to go find Max. I think something happened. And we look all over the place. Couldn't find him anywhere. So I said, he's got to be inside. He's got to be in the lodge. So we go into the lodge, Sundance, Utah. Very, very, very nice bar, very nice restaurant. And Max is sitting there at the bar. Sitting there at that bar, he's got a pocket Hemingway. He's reading a pocket edition of some Hemingway novel. Who brings Hemingway on a snowboard day? Empty shell for a lobster tail, which he obviously devoured in front of him. Little thing of scotch, naturally. And he's chatting up everybody at the bar. They're all having a great time. I said, Max, this is not snowboarding. This is not how you snowboard. He said, this is how I snowboard. So in the next life or whatnot, if Max ever invites you to go snowboarding, make sure you've got your pocket Hemingway and your scotch, because that's snowboarding with Max. So our Max was such a unique individual. He was the perfect dichotomy of serious and weird, introvert and extrovert, formal and informal. He would be the only person at an event wearing a deep blue crushed velvet blazer, a cravat with a matching pocket square. But then you'd find him later at the same event, plunked down on the sidewalk, smoking a doob with whoever would pass by. He was the personification of Polonius's counsel to thine own self be true. He would take as much pleasure in giddily off-roading in rural Utah as he did racing RC cars around this living room with his nephews, using the bedtime storybooks as ramps. He would be up for an evening at the symphony and a day at an outdoor punk festival. And by the way, he would always be the best dressed person at both events. But the beauty of it all was that Max relished each moment with such effortless joy and gratitude. During his stays with us here in Summerstown, which were always such happy visits, he would contentedly sit out here on this porch in the blazing sun watching the Indy 500, or he'd be down in his room right here below us listening to podcast after podcast after podcast. And then peals of that fantastic laugh would just echo through the house. And I would say, who the heck laughs when they're by themselves? Who the heck laughs when they're alone? Max does, that's who. Most anyone who met him, even if only briefly, remembered him for better or for worse, but mostly for the former. His unsuppressible curiosity gene rendered him an expert on a myriad of subjects. And although he could and would happily talk your ear off if you let him, he was always careful to stop and listen. And I mean truly listen. Max had a genuine and near pathologic kindness about him, a staunch sense of justice, and an unwavering loyalty to us, his family, and most certainly to his friends, whom he held so, so very dear. This quotation has been shared with many of my big brother's friends before, but it bears repeating. Charles Darwin said, "A man's friendships are one of the best measures of his worth." And it would be negligent of our family not to appreciate what a tribute to him, what a testament to his character, and what an honor it has been meeting so many of you and hearing your wonderful stories about Max over the past few months and beyond. Thank you all so much for your love and support. There are billions of people on Earth. How lucky are we to have had such a unique and wonderful person like Max in our lives? And for Max, what greater joy for you, and what more telling of a life well lived than to not only have been able to be true to yourself, but also to be deeply loved, admired, and celebrated for it. Max's death has left a huge void in this dimension that will and can never be filled. And the days, certainly my days, have certainly lost a great deal of luster now that he's not physically present in them. But We revive that radiance, and we keep him here with us with our ongoing love and by recounting our stories of him, about which there are so many. So please do grieve and cry and rage, get mad, get angry if you must. But after you've weathered your emotional storm, be sure to let your smile shine like the sun at dawn and be grateful and joyful for our Max and reflect the love that he had for each moment of the day as he would want us to. Give a family member a hug, even if that hug is a virtual hug. Tell them that you love them. Call a friend that you've not spoken to in a long time and spread that brilliant positivity that came so naturally to Max. There's a poem by W.H. Auden, written in 1936, called Funeral Blues. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos, and with muffled drum bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. Let the airplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, he is dead. Put crepe bows round the white necks of the public doves. Let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now, put out every one. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood, for nothing now can ever come to any good. It's very beautiful, but it's not quite Max, so I rewrote it. This one's for you, Max. Let the sun rise at dawn, brush the phone's camera lens. Fly along time's highway in a Porsche, Bug, or Benz. Take apart and assemble life's clock with the ease of coaxing concertos from black and white keys. Light hearts of kin with ebullient smiles, bear curiosity's weight with the glee of a child. Brandish the knowledge of 1,000 sages, resurrect others' memories that have near faded. Hunch over scrawled word, writ with green fountain pen, then lean deep to converse with devoted old friends. Take each step with joy and each moment with grace. Rejoice in each note of melodic embrace. Use pressed kerchiefs to dry grief's bitter tears, then use as a coaster for a fine scotch or beer. By the tire marks below, butterflies up above, till we meet again, as our Max says, one love. I love you, Max. I know you're with us. I love you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, that was beautiful. My name's Ori. I think Max was my best friend. Nelson introduced us about 10 years ago, and we just instantly became best friends. We were going out every single night. We had so much fun. Monday nights, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, Monday nights with Max. I really just want to thank his parents for giving me such a good friend. I thought the world of the guy. The smartest guy I knew, the best dressed guy I knew, extremely influential in my life, on my major decisions in the last 10 years. Yeah, I have a Max in my corner. I'm going to miss him a lot. I really just want to say thanks to his parents and to everybody who made Max who he is. What a unique, what an incredible person. And I'm going to miss him more than anything. I know wherever he is, he's maxing and relaxing somewhere. Drinking something stiff, something strong. And yeah, buddy, save me a spot at the bar. That's all I got to say.
All right. I'm gonna try to break this home, but I'm taking a page out of Leah's book. I'm gonna do a funny story first, because oh my gosh! First of all, I can't say this enough. Leah used all the beautiful words in the lexicon between the siblings, so I'm gonna just represent the discombobulated half here. But when we were on the RV trip, we were all at one campsite, and Max took off to go refuel the RV. For those who didn't know, about 2 years ago, we took a big RV trip. The whole family, Max planned the entire thing, drove us across all the way to Newfoundland and back. Beautiful 2-week vacation. So one day he goes off to refuel the RV. He's at a campsite, and at the first campsite he went to, truck stop we went to, he bought the best, most gnarliest hunter trucker hat I have ever seen, just to look against type as humanly possible, because he knew like a black dude rolling up in an RV with a trucker hat would just confuse people. So sure enough, that moment comes to fruition. He's refueling the van, and this guy's just staring at him, and Max just does that, one of those. So the guy just kind of awkward noise, like, so get good mileage on that thing? And Max just goes, oh yeah, it's great, it's great. It's not too bad for cooking crystal meth too. And just hopped in, peeled off around the corner, and just apparently my favorite part is he opened the window apparently and saw the guy, like, as he turned away and was like, ah, just kept laughing. That to me is just exemplary of the man's unyielding ability to be himself in the face of friends, family. And what I think is, what I'm hearing tonight is what that genuine person was just someone who cared intensely about who you were, about your happiness, and just was so smart and so well versed. Didn't matter who you were as a person, he could communicate to that whoever you were. I grew up with a very unique perspective of being Max's younger brother. Leah and Max are less than a year apart, but when you're 8 years behind Maximilian Nchama, you get the full younger sibling experience, which is amazing and terrifying at sometimes, because Max, for example, had a soundtrack to his beatings called the Beat Song. You'd be minding your own business, and then like you'd be hiding in the bathroom, and all of a sudden just 2 rooms away, you're like da 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 na na, and you just run for whatever room had a lock on it, and then just outside the door, da 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 da, like you knew it was too late. Having said that, the guy also was the one who pushed for me to go to art school. He was the one who's like, he's creative. Max really loved music and film and television, the creative arts. And he saw that in me. He's like, let this kid go to art school. He was the first one who got me my first M29 pre-roll from BC. He put a Gretsch Jet in my hand because he knew I love guitar. Like he knew exactly the person I was before I did. And to me, that's a guardian. That's someone who, again, like, genuinely curious about this planet and just able to take that curiosity and reflect it back on you. Whenever I got my COVID vaccine, I was actually reminded of this. One of the songs that Leah played the morning that Max passed was Day in the Life by the Beatles, one of Max's favorite songs. And as I waited in line to get my COVID vaccine, out of nowhere over the PA system in the Civic Center in Brampton, the last verse pops on. And I thought I was having some sort of auditory hallucination, so I asked the nurse when I got the front line, were they just playing music in there? And she's like, yeah, Beatles or something. And I just, the music ended right after that. And I don't necessarily believe in that stuff, but it immediately reminded me of when I first moved to Toronto, of another Max story. And again, just the ever-present guardian. I was in a Canadian Tire down at Yonge and Dundas Square, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from Max. And Max, for those of you who don't know, we shared an apartment for the past 15 years. He lived in the upstairs unit, I lived downstairs, so it's very rare he calls me, if ever. Usually just sends me a text. Hey dude, what's up? Are you at the house right now? And I'm like, no, I'm out, what's up? Oh, you out like the mall or a store or something? I'm like, yeah, Canadian Tire, why? And he's like, oh. Dude, I got this vibe right now, like, just something dreadful happened. I looked at my phone, I saw your name, I thought of you, and I called you up, and I'm worried. I think you should get out of there, and I'm freaking out. Because I'm like, really? Like right now? He's like, yeah, just get out of there. Like whatever you gotta do, just leave right now. So I'm panicking. I'm heading for the eggs. I'm like, oh my God, like, are you serious right now? And he's like, no, I'm actually in the aisle behind you. And I turn and he's just on his phone, like standing there waving at me. And again, like that to me was the metaphor of a relationship, like teasing me like an older brother. But again, he always looking out for me, knew more about myself than I ever did, knew more about ourselves than we ever did. Like the man was just so introspective. And to me, that's just a genuinely curious, benevolent, wonderful person. And we all had front row tickets to one of the best shows on the planet. And I'm ever grateful for that. Max, I love you and I'll always miss you. But I think it's my duty, our family, his friends, all of us, to take that warmth and that radiance and that genuine curiosity and benevolence that he brought to us all and carry it forwards to as many people as possible. That's his legacy, guys, is just going forwards. Let's all be a little bit more Max, as cliched as that sound. But that's all for our little broadcast for this evening. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Again, much thanks to Andrew of the... I meant Ray, thank you, Nelson. And to Adam and Nelson helping us out. To close us out, I wrote a little song, little piano thing for my older brother. That I would like to play for everyone just to close out the evening. If you have at home your Lagavulin shots, should we save it for the end? Should we do it now? Right now. Ori says right now, folks. So it looks like get your shots ready because we're all going to do this toast. We're running a real steadfast ship here, but you know what? Max would get a kick out of this, especially... No problem. That was the chair. Thank you, sir. All right. So everyone at home, cheers. This is for you, Maximilian. We love and miss you. Salute. For Max, everyone. To Max. To the max.
To the max.
Man's got good taste. All right. Oh, it's smoky. Turn it up, Nelson? Yep. All right.